Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video, we're going to be looking at what are Haecceities. Now, the concept of a Haecceity has its origins in medieval scholastic philosophy. Specifically, it comes from the works of John Donne's Scotus. Scotus argued that objects were just collections of properties. Most of these properties were qualitative things that could be observed, like shape, color, or texture. However, there was one property that was unique to each object. Its Haecceity, or its thisness, the property of being that thing and that thing alone. For Scotus, properties do not adhere to a particular substance. Rather, substance is simply a collection of properties in a particular place. For the scholastics, Haecceities served to be both a property of existence and individuation. A Haecceity is what makes something exist and what separates it from other objects and makes it a unique object as opposed to the same as another object with the same properties. However, this is not the only notion of a Haecceity. Leibniz later co-opted the term to support his principle of the identity of indiscernibles. Check out our video on Leibniz's Law for more. For Leibniz, two objects that shared all the same properties must be identical. We can make this claim for only pure intrinsic properties if we think that Haecceities exist, since each object has the property of having its own Haecceity, and no other object has that property. And therefore, even in a possible world with only two perfect iron spheres, we can distinguish between them because they have different Haecceities. Their properties are different because one of those properties is a Haecceity, and that Haecceity only picks out that particular sphere. Leibniz took this concept a step further. For him, a Haecceity was also the property that made something identical to itself both over time, and therefore solving some persistence problems of identity, but also across possible worlds. Your Haecceity is the property that you retain even as all your other properties change over your lifetime, but it's also what makes you the same as you in a possible world where everything is slightly different. Why should you care about what someone who has your name and was born to your parents in another possible world is doing, or what happened to them? Because they have the same Haecceity that you do. There are many reasons that one might be concerned with the concept of Haecceity. First, we'll look at objections to Scotus's original formulation, and then we'll look at some objections to Leibniz's. For Scotus, it seems strange to refer to something that is non-qualitative as a property. It seems that properties that we cannot perceive are not really properties. They sound just like a different thing to call a substance. Additionally, it seems unclear when something would lose its Haecceity. This does not seem to address the problem of identity, just rename them. The problem of Theseuss Ship is just as problematic, it just takes it to a different step. When does Theseuss Ship lose its Haecceity, or does it ever? If I melt down a metal cup and reform it into two smaller cups, when does a single Haecceity become two? And does either of those corresponding cups retain the Haecceity of the original cup? Check out my video on the paradox of Theseuss Ship for more on this issue. These problems are even worse for Leibniz. If we have a possible world with one sphere which is melted and formed into two spheres, isn't there some way in which it must maintain that single Haecceity through the physical changes of being melted down? If so, it seems like the two spheres have the same Haecceity after all, and the original problem that we looked at in Leibniz's Law emerges. There are also issues with Leibniz's modal claims. In virtue of what does someone with completely different properties share my same Haecceity in another possible world? If I'm a different gender, a different race, lived at a different time, what property does Haecceity use to pick out my modal counterpart? It seems like I could look very, very different in another possible world. The question is, which of those me's in that other possible world actually shares a Haecceity with me? And why is that the case? There doesn't seem to be any rationale behind it if we don't actually share any properties. If there is some property that we do share, then Haecceities are reducible to that property. If not, it's unclear how we could ever know anything about a property that's completely imperceptible, and how I could ever figure out, if I were to look at another modal world, another possible world, which of those individuals was my counterpart. In response, Leibniz might claim that this is exactly why we need Haecceities, because there is some irreducible property that identifies individuals despite their properties changing over time or through modal worlds. However, the simpler course seems to be to doubt that such intermodal identity exists. Problems like the paradox of Theseuss Ship and the persistence problem of personal identity, check out the series on that, seem real and substantial. Appealing to some imperceptible property called a Haecceity does nothing more than claim that there is a solution in principle, but claim that such a solution is inherently unknowable. This response is unsatisfying at best and completely unjustified at worst. What do you think? Do Haecceities exist? Can they solve issues of identity and individuation across time and possible worlds? Or are they simply a way of ignoring problems for identity without actually solving them? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe, hit that notification bell if you like this content and you want to see more. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.